Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here with Richard Owens. He's a Toronto lawyer and a senior Monk Fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Richard, I do want to circle back onto innovation for a second. I know you know about its connection with intellectual property protection, but tell us, in your words, a little bit more detail about the impact of innovation on our economy and the impact of innovation wherever it's done, why it's important for the Canadian economy to have that kind of innovation.
Um, that's a that is indeed a wonderful context in which to look at these issues. You couldn't have asked a bigger question, I don't think. But let me try to answer it in a thumbnail sketch. Um, we are as wealthy as we are because of productivity gains. We can produce a lot more wealth uh, per hour of labor, per dollar invested, because we are a sophisticated economy. And where does that sophistication come from? Where does the multiplication effect of investment come from? Well, it comes from innovation. It comes from the ability to do things with greater efficiency or greater impact. Um, and as innovations, technological, process oriented, whatever they may be, whether they result in patents or trade secrets or other forms of intellectual property, they continue to not only increase the wealth in our economy, but to increase the rate at which wealth accretes to our economy. This is why government cares so much about innovation. We're in a competition with other nations to retain people and to promote a standard of living for our citizens. And the growth of our economies and the ability to improve standard of living really comes from innovation. Not to mention, frankly, the meaning and interest in life, it seems to me, comes from being able to come up with new ideas, produce new things, and improve the well-being of people. Now, needless to say, that those innovations don't come out of nowhere, and they arise if a nation, if a jurisdiction is capable of maintaining far-seeing and equitable rules and procedures that uh, cause investment to happen and that make good minds apply themselves here and in turn indeed want to exploit our markets through commercializing products here. A key ingredient in that process is patents and other forms of intellectual property. And if we take drugs, since that's one of our topics under discussion, take that as a prime example. It's an area where the impact and the details of the patent regime are probably better known than any other. Without the ability to grant a patent, a certain time of market exclusivity for getting a return on the investment in a drug, the vast amounts, and they truly are vast amounts of time and money and limited expertise that go into creating and testing and managing the risks of and commercializing a new drug, they ain't going to happen, right? The As it is, particularly in laggard countries like Canada, where we're very reluctant to grant sufficient intellectual property protection, um, we barely do enough to make this investment worthwhile. In the US, it's a little more finely tuned, but it's still at the edge of what's manageable. Um, Modern biopharmaceuticals can take billions of dollars to bring a single new drug to market. Almost all of those billions of dollars of investment fail. So you're looking at, right, a massively front end loaded roll of the dice that some new molecule, and in the case of a biopharmaceutical, a very complex and potentially unstable molecule, is going to give rise to enough of a prize to make the whole game worthwhile. And if you start monkeying with that, as we do in Canada, taking away the benefits of the intellectual property regime, well, the results are entirely predictable and ineluctable. Innovation falls. Innovation investment in Canada has been plummeting for years. We do a terrible job at it. We are not taking advantage of the will, the energies, the education of our citizens, and we are letting them down through poor innovation policies and poor intellectual property policies.
On that note, we're going to take another brief break with our guest, Richard C. Owens. He's a Toronto lawyer and a senior Monk Fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.